Hey, how's it going, everybody? I really wanted to go in and address this video, and I'm so tired of addressing this video. I've addressed it so many times. But my sin of the day is Noir 29. Yeah, from Lalabo. And I've addressed this video so many times. I've taken a lot of disrespect, a lot of, uh, a lot of, uh, I don't know. So it's a lot of people who are trolling me in regards to these videos where I'm talking about the right to travel. And I think people don't understand the aspect of the videos going in. People keep arguing with me about the fact that, or they think that it's a fact that the state can force you to have a driver's license. Now, people need to understand what a mandatory authority is and a permissive authority is. So I have people who are arguing with me about law who have no clue about law. And sometimes it irritates me because it makes it to where I don't want to do this anymore. Because it's like, I don't have to do this. I don't have to explain anything. So I go into this and I'm getting comments in regards to uh, basically, I'm getting comments in regards to uh, this video. And what the problem is with the video is people do not do their own research. And I don't understand why people will sit there and troll a video that you don't like instead of just taking the video and then making a contrary view to the video. Now, what I'm talking about, the right to travel, is a wasted argument. I'm talking about from an aspect of damages. It is a wasted argument. It is already solidified in law that you have a right to travel. But the right to travel boils down to the action that took place to impede on that right. So it's not an argument that you have a right to travel. That is solidified in law. Okay. You're challenging the action that impedes on the right to travel. I don't know why I have to sit there and keep explaining this. This is very simple. So I'm going to give this person the light of day that they want. Usually I don't, but I'm going to say this because it's kind of like, dude, go follow somebody else. You don't even have any followers, you don't have any comments. So I appreciate the good and I appreciate the bad. So I'm thankful for everybody that follows me. Whether you like me, not, don't care. It's not my thing. I don't really care if people like me or not. So, in other words, you can't actually back up anything. You say and are a liar. I'm a liar. Even though I have case law, I have results. I don't show my results because when I get results with a person, it's between me and that person. I've gotten people out of jail sentences. I've gotten people out of situations where they were going to go to jail for years. And somebody, oh, you got to show that. Let me see your case. I don't care about you believing that. That's not my job. You can see what I'm saying in basic law. All right. The law in every state since 1954 has required, listen to this word, required possession of a valid driver's license, a valid license, when behind the wheel of an automobile on public roads, whether or not you're engaged in a commercial use of that automobile. I never said anything about commercial use. I never said anything in this video about commercial use or not. Okay, there is no right to physically control an automobile on the public roads free from the law enacted for public safety and order that includes licensing of drivers and registration of vehicles. Well, what? Oh, people, you have to understand that Walmart can make a law or Walmart can make a rule inside of Walmart. If I break Walmart's rules, Walmart can either hold me accountable or call the police. Okay? Just because I broke one of Walmart's rules does not mean that I get thrown into the dungeon without due process. You see what I'm saying? That's how dumb these people are. They literally think because a legislature passes a law that we all know that corporations don't follow laws. We all know that corporations know the FDCPA and don't follow it. We all know that corporations know the state laws in regards to contracts and don't follow them. We all know that the corporations know the state laws in regards to assignments of debt and don't follow it. Just because a law is enacted does not mean that it is enforced heavily or enforceable on a mandatory authority. Okay? This is basic law. I don't have to go into court cases to figure this out. Very simple. Of course, you wouldn't want to admit it since it would cut into your income from fleecing the gullible. What? Y'all think I make a lot of money from doing this? You are out of your mind. Okay, I'm going to go to my response. And my response is, it's going to be more, less kind of irritated, but more, you know, even balanced. Sir, you keep coming in my comment section. This person keeps, anytime I put a video talking about the right to travel or no driver's license required, this person keeps, or entity or bot, because most of these are bots. They're not even real people. You look at you go click on their profile, they don't have any videos. Okay, sir, you keep coming, and I'm being sir just to use it as a be cordial. Sir, you keep commenting in my comment section. Please find somewhere else to go because this is getting redundant. A state, because I keep saying the same thing over and over, a state can require you to do something that doesn't make it mandatory. Like if I have rules in my house and I don't enforce them, the rules are just arbitrarily there. Okay, even if an officer, even if the state has the right to enforce me to have a driver's license, I don't have to give it to the police officer. Now, in some states, you do. Some states they can say, "Oh yeah, you have to give it to the officer," or if you don't give it, everything is free will. Everything is free will, meaning even if I'm in a state and I'm supposed to give my driver's license to a police officer, and I say I'm not doing that because the Constitution says I don't have to. I don't have to give you. I have a right to be secure in my papers unless I committed a crime under the Fourth Amendment. Don't forget about that Fifth Amendment either. I have a right to not interrogate myself. And that good old Sixth Amendment. Look, so a state can require you to have a driver's license and penalize you if you don't. Okay? This is why I said what I said about the right to travel. People are arguing about being found guilty on a suspended license plate as if the court holding the proceeding affects their right to travel, which it doesn't. Just because you get caught and get a ticket and you have to go to court, that doesn't impede on your right to travel. But you have a right to stop the process from infringing on your right to travel. Do you get it? Oh my God. All right. So just because they have a right to penalize you, that doesn't make it mandatory, which is separate from the court process. People keep forgetting that a traffic stop is separate from the court process. So, yes, a court can issue a summons. The only way, and this is under almost every state, that you can be sued in a civil or quasi civil manner is if a person of non interest over the age of 18 serves you. So the police officer cannot give you a traffic ticket and summons in the same stop. That's a violation. Jesus Christ. Sometimes I get irritated with this stuff. It's like, dude, I'm trying to help you. I don't have to do this. I think people forget about that. Like, I get a lot of kind of feedback, and I try to allow my channel to be open. there's some comments, that would have to be, if it's racist or crazy. I'm all for the First Amendment, but when it comes to like YouTube, I don't want to get my videos taken down because somebody wants to make some stupid comment. You know what I'm saying? Or these people that are following my channel and trying to get people's email stuff. That ain't me. I'm not affiliated with it. Don't get them people your email information. I don't even know who this person is. They keep going from video to video asking for email information. I don't know. Don't file for that stuff. Look, all right. So, which is separate from the corporate, you have no clue of what you are talking about and lack of basic comprehension. I am not fleecing anyone. People with common sense can do this with on their own. Okay. I'm not soliciting people to do anything. If people want to do a consultation with me, I say, this is my fee for my time. Everything I have everything. I have everything on my Instagram. I have everything on my YouTube. All of this stuff can free you for free. But if you want to sit down and talk to me, of course I'm going to charge you. Why would I sit there and sit on the phone for free? When I first started doing this, I did it damn near for free. And you know what people do? They disrespect you. The lower you charge, the more people disrespect you. The higher you charge, the more people respect you. That's just human nature. If I was to charge, when I first started this, I charged $50 an hour to do consultations. Then people would insult me saying, I can't believe you're giving out all this information for $50. This is crazy, blah, 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 blah. Or they would say something slick to me, or they would talk slick. You would be surprised how many people are very, very rude, how many people are very manipulative and conniving. And they'll say, oh, well, the gurus or the so-called gurus, I'm not a guru, but they'll say the so-called gurus, blah, blah, they talking to people this way and blah, 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 blah. You'll be shocked how the people who are in dire need will talk to someone as if they're obligated to help them. No one's obligated to help you. You're obligated to help yourself. Okay? So I'm sorry about this diatribe, but I have to address these things. Okay? So if you want someone who's fleecing people, there are several lawyers' YouTube channels you can troll. Why would I share pearls with swine like you? What does it benefit me to prove something to you? Like, it's people in the comment section with like 9 followers that be like, prove that to me. And they're fake accounts. They're not even real accounts. And I'm even mad I even let it irritate me. But we have to get into why this is not a mandatory authority. Okay. And this is where a lot of times where people they don't get it. And you try to tell them and they still don't get it. So I'm trying to get over here for you. Okay. All right. So we'll go over to, got too many tabs open. I apologize. All right. Got way too many tabs open. All right. So when I'm addressing some of these comments, and I see some of you guys in the comment section, and you guys are telling me, don't address those comments. Sometimes you have to. Sometimes you have to address those comments. You have to address the comments. There's a lot of disrespect that sometimes it needs to go addressed. Otherwise, people will consistently keep doing it. And even if you do it, people will do it just to get your attention. All right. So let me go ahead and bring this up. Why is there so many tabs? I'm sorry. I got so many. I got so many tabs on here. I do so many dang go consultations and stuff. Sometimes it's hard for me to. All right. So here we go. All right. You have to understand in law, the concept of mandatory, all right, has to mean that the law has the ability to a enforce something as it is mandatory. Okay. So what is a mandatory authority? Now, if you understand the Constitution, it should be very simple to understand why a state has the right to to say that you must have a driver's license, but then you will understand that it is not legally enforceable by the court. The court is only enforcing the citation. They're not enforcing if you have to have a driver's license or not. There has not been one person who's provided me with one case citation that shows that a court can force you to as mandatory to have a driver's license. A court can issue an order that requires you to have a driver's license depending on certain circumstances, but that is a court order. That is not an order from the legislature. So you guys do understand that there's a separation of powers between the court and the legislature, right? I hope you do. All right, so we'll go into mandatory authority. Mandatory authority, unlike persuasive authority, describes legal authority that is binding and must be followed. All mandatory authority are primary sources of law. Now, is a citation a primary source of law? No, it is not. It can be derived from a primary source of law. So let's go to primary sources of law. Statements about the law that came directly from the legislature, a court, or another body with the official capacity to issue or clarify rules for its jurisdiction. What citation does that? Primary authority is always mandatory. It disputes where it governs. So it has to give for that to be applicable, it would have to give you its citation for its jurisdiction. What is the jurisdiction for the state to compel me to get a driver's license? It doesn't exist. The state can recommend that I get a driver's license. The state can even fine me for not having a driver's license. Hell, the state can even throw me in jail for not even having a driver's license. It doesn't make it mandatory. However, not all primary sources are mandatory authority because of jurisdiction affects whether a legal authority is mandatory or persuasive. A secondary source of law can never be a mandatory authority. What? See how simple that is? I didn't have to go through 10,000 case laws. I don't look into case law like that. I look into when I'm looking, the way that I research is I want to understand the principles of law, not what someone's opinion of law is. I want the principles of law. And then when I understand the principles, I can go into the opinion so I can further understand how a judge rules in a certain manner. That's why every citation, every case that somebody provided me with, none of them said that it's mandatory that you have a driver's license. It's that they all say that the state can enforce that they have a driver's license. And then the judge will give the opinion. We believe it's in the best opinion that every driver on the road has a driver's license. That's an opinion. That is not a fact. Okay. Mandatory authority consists of constitutions, legislatures, and judicial decision. Show me one judicial decision that says that it is mandatory that I have a driver's license. Show me one. Constitutions derive their authority from who? The people, not the damn legislature, not the damn Congress. Why does the Constitution derive its rights from the people? Because it's the obligation for the people to enforce their rights, to uphold the Constitution. Do you not understand? You're not a party to the Constitution. I'm not a party to the legislature's laws. These are laws that the legislature passes to conduct business or to regulate business or to regulate public safety. I am not a party to that. But when my estate is named in a traffic ticket, now my estate becomes a party to that, and I become what is called a accommodation party. So a lot of times people need to understand these things, and we'll get into it. So, instrument signed for an accommodation. If an instrument is issued for value given, so when you get a traffic ticket, in most instances, they have value. If they don't have value, then that's another argument. That is another defense. So if they give you a traffic ticket and it has $0.00, that's a defense given for the benefit to the party, the instrument, the accommodation party, and another party to the instrument. The accommodating party, I'm sorry, the accommodated party and the accommodation party signs the instrument for the purpose of incurring liability on the instrument without being a direct benefit of the value given for the instrument. Okay? The instrument is signed by an accommodation party for accommodation. An accommodation party may sign the instrument as maker, drawer, acceptor, or endorser, and subject to subsection D is obligated to pay the instrument in the capacity in which the accommodation party signs. The obligation of an accommodation party may be enforced notwithstanding any statute of frauds. What? And whether or not the accommodation party receives consideration for the accommodation. A person signing an instrument is presumed to be an accommodation party, and there is a notice that the instrument is signed for accommodation if the signature is an anomalous endorsement. Well, what is an anomalous endorsement? An anomalous endorsement made by a person who is not the holder of an instrument, and an anomalous endorsement does not affect the matter in which the endorsement may be negotiated. Now, you might be like, well, why are you reading the UCC and you're going over this? I'm just giving you what an accommodation party is. So just because you don't sign the instrument, it's taking as you being an accommodation party of the instrument. Okay. When somebody issues a driver's license, when somebody issues a driver's license, when you accept the driver's license, you're accepting to be bound to the rules of the road that have not been disclosed to you. Unless they give you all the rules of the road and attach it to your driver's license, you have not received all the disclosures required to be entitled to be enforced on that instrument. So all these people tell you, you have to have driver's license, you need to learn contract law. So we'll go back to mandatory authority. Well, I'm not even going to read the rest of that. Okay. So consists of constitutions, legislations, and judicial decisions. Constitutions derive their authority from the people. So constitutions bind. So wait. Constitutions and legislatures, you might as well group them together. Constitution bind only those who have agreed to be bound. So that means that all of the state laws are applicable to everybody who gave an oath and signed or oath and agreed to be bound to the state constitution. Go read your state's oaths. Go read the oaths. It's in your statutes. It tells you the oath. They have an oath to the United States and they have an oath to the state. That's who's bound to the legislature's statutes. Oh my God. I can't believe I got to tell y'all that. So let me say that again. So that means the people who are trustees are bound to enforce the Constitution. That doesn't mean that I'm a party to the Constitution. That means that that is their obligation as a trustee. Thus, while the Constitution of the United States is mandatory, authority in every state, in every court in the United States. An individual state's constitution is mandatory authority only within the state's jurisdiction. So the two mandatory authorities are what? The state constitution and the United States Constitution. What's the secondary? The legislature. Right. Get out of my face with all that stuff, talking all that recklessness. In every state court of the United. Okay. So look, in a situation, even though a state's constitution is a primary source of law, it is not automatically mandatory authority. Why? Because if it contradicts what? The rights of the people, it's not mandatory. So this is why you guys are arguing. People are arguing about the right to travel, and people are saying, "Oh, see, somebody won with the right to travel." I'm not saying that that argument doesn't win. I'm not saying it doesn't win. I'm saying if you want a more of a consistent volume of winning, that is not the issue. You already have a right to travel. It is solidified in law. It is solidified. Why are we making that argument? If it's solidified, then I need to challenge the action. Why do I need to challenge the action? So I can ensure that no one else goes through that action. But the court is going to stop you from doing that because they want to be able to fleece the people. So if you understand what I'm saying, that's why there is no proof of all of this, because they have what is called plausible deniability. I have to keep gaps in reality so then they can't connect the truth. This is what allows people to rule. Okay. So for judicial decisions, vertical stair dices. I'm probably butchering that. I don't care if I'm butchering that. So I don't need you to connect it. It's dices. I don't give a damn. Dictates that the judicial decisions by the higher courts are mandatory authority for the lower courts. Okay, for all you guys who are into case law is not for you. You're using it as a general consensus to push the rule of the case towards the higher court instead of letting the lower court do what they do. That doesn't mean that the lower court can't bypass it and enter a judgment. Horizontal steer dices, on the other hand, is generally not binding. The body of binding judicial decisions is specific to a jurisdiction. Therefore, judicial decisions by courts of one jurisdiction are not mandatory authority for a courts of another jurisdiction. All right. So look, what are primary source of law? Primary source of the law. So you have to understand primary authority. Statements about the law that come directly from a legislature, statements from a law that that didn't say citations, it says statements. A court or another body with an official capacity to issue or clarify rules for its jurisdiction. Primary authority is always mandatory in disputes where it governs. All right. So look, persuasive authority. So this is the legislature that you guys are griping about, and you're still arguing about, telling me that that since 1954 there is an actual law. No, that is persuasive authority, because the state cannot force you to get a license. A state cannot say, "Oh, they can't shut off your car if you don't have a license." Jesus. Oh my God, man, this stuff is crazy, man. I don't know why I even addressed this. I need to be addressing the positive stuff and not the negative. But anyway, persuasive authority, unlike mandatory authority, describes sources of law. So doesn't the citation usually come from an act? Doesn't it usually come from something? Doesn't the motor vehicle code usually come from, or elements of it usually come from out of Title 49? Or the setting up of the the DMV, come on, man, describes sources of law, primary or secondary, that carries some authoritative weight, but does not bind a court. Just because the state has a law that says that the person has to have a driver's license, that doesn't mean that the state actually went through all of the processes to get that person through court to have a trial. All right, man, I'm about to be done with this. Okay, so look, whether a court decision is persuasive authority or mandatory authority depends on the rank and jurisdiction of the courts involved. A decision by a lower court is a persuasive authority for a higher court. So this is why I'm trying to tell you guys. I don't have to use case law. It doesn't, in certain instances, you do need case law. But you have to understand that the lower courts are different than the higher court. A lower court can run through and do rocket docket. A higher court can't do that. So if you don't know what rocket docket is when the lower court, you file motions, the lower court don't listen to none of your motions and they just enter in a judgment. So then what you brought up, you think, oh, that don't work. That don't work. Y'all actually think because a court gets a judgment against you that that judgment is valid and it can't be challenged. It's enforceable. No, you could go through a traffic citation and lose and then come back and win if you know what to do. Therefore, a decision by any other court is persuasive authority for the Supreme Court because it is the highest court in the United States. They're talking about the Supreme Court of the United States, not the Supreme Court of your state. In general, a decision by a court of the same rank is persuasive authority, meaning your state Supreme Court. For example, a trial court decisions are not binding in the same trial court. A decision by a court of one jurisdiction is persuasive authority for courts of another jurisdiction. For example, decisions by federal court do not bind state courts and vice versa. So sometimes when you guys are using case law, you have to make sure the case actually comports with the state or the court that you're using it in. In the state of Wisconsin, we have shitty case law. Like our case law, there you have to dig for it. Like there's because people don't know their rights in this state. So there's not real compelling court cases. And the judges are smart enough to shut those compelling court cases down. They'll dismiss them and then they won't leave a valid reason. They'll leave it up to the prosecutor to dismiss it. So it says the prosecutor dismisses this case. It doesn't address any of the pertinent merit that the defendant brings up. That's the plausible deniability the court uses. And decisions by the court of other states do not bind the forum state court. Although the court's decisions of persuasive authority are not binding precedent, a court may choose to rely on and follow these decisions. Cases such as this one from Michigan explain that the court may follow decisions of another jurisdiction if the reasoning is persuasive. Courts may also look to decisions from other jurisdictions for guidance. So if you have a state that doesn't have direct cases like Wisconsin, you may be able to use those cases, to prove a point. Because a judgment in one state, it should be good in another state under the full faith of credit, or not even just full faith of credit, but a judgment in another state, as long as, because the states are unionized. You know what I'm saying? So they're pretty much uniform. They're like they're uniformed, but they're their own individuals. Okay, for example, when deciding the issues of first impression, like this one from Colorado, or matters which the forum state is unclear, like this one from Utah. I'm not clicking on these because I'm not reading that long. A court, however, will not follow decisions of a persuasive authority when the decision is against the forum jurisdiction's public policy. Okay, so this is why I said what I said in a video about the right to travel. I am not against people bringing the right to travel. And sometimes people show me like cases where somebody went into court and they brought up this and they use stuff to act like I don't know these videos exist. Look, if you're going into court, just follow the rules of court. It's that simple to win. I'm not teaching anything crazy. I'm not telling you to go in there with your birth certificate or your certificate of live birth. I'm not even saying that's crazy. But I'm not teaching that. I'm just keeping it as basic as possible so even a person with no legal experience has a fighting chance. I can't guarantee anything. No one can, unless I'm doing it for you. But I'm not doing that. That's ridiculous. I don't get paid enough for that. So I'm not going to be any power of attorney for anybody. I'm not going to be any of that yet. I might set that up in the future, but uh, um, but I'd have to set up. I'd have to have more, more structure in this to do that. But a lot of you guys have to understand. You need to understand to understand law. You have to understand the principles of law and not case law. So some of you guys are arguing things that you don't understand the principle of law, and that's why a lot of attorneys will bounce you out. Another thing I want people to keep in mind: just because you file a motion in court does not mean that motion is going to go uncontested. And that's what happened. It's just like Mike Tyson says: everybody has a plan till somebody gets punched in their face. So when an attorney files a counter motion or they file an answer to your motion, now people, what do I do? You stand on what the hell you stand on. You know what I'm saying? You stand on your motion, and then you answer their motion. That's how court operates. Okay, so you guys stop panicking when something happens in court. It's just a fucking piece of paper. And with that said, I'm out.